Sign the papers,
Sign the papers,
Mr.
Mr. Choi,
or I'll make
or
sure
I'll
your
make sure
company
your company doesn't survive the quarter.
Star's voice cut through the boardroom like a knife, her dark eyes fixed on the sweating man across the gigantic conference table. The other executives shifted in their seats, avoiding her gaze. She didn't raise her voice. She never had to. For years of clawing her way up from nothing had taught her that power whispered. It didn't shout.
Mrs.
Kim, please, Mr. Choi stammered, his fingers trembling as they hovered over the contract.
Mrs. Kim, please.
This deal,
You're asking for 60% of our shares.
That's fair, considering your company is hemorrhaging money and I'm offering you a lifeline. Star leaned back in her leather chair, her perfectly manicured nails drumming once against the armrest. You have 3 minutes to decide. My son has a piano recital at 4, and I don't intend to be late. Mr. Choi's pen hit the paper. Star allowed herself the smallest smile as she watched him sign away his company. Another piece added to her empire. Another step further from the woman she used to be, the one who'd been thrown away like trash. As the executives filed out, Min-Jae appeared at her elbow, tablet in hand. The car is ready. Minho's teacher called to confirm you're coming. I wouldn't miss it. Star gathered her files, her expression softening at the mention of her son. Has there been any word from? Jin-Woo's lawyer called again. 3rd time this week. Min-Jae's jaw tightened. He wants to arrange a meeting. Star's hand stilled. For years since Jin-Woo had walked out of their penthouse with his suitcase and his new Korean girlfriend, leaving her with nothing but a broken heart and a 5-year-old son who cried himself to sleep every night asking what he'd done wrong. Tell his lawyer the answer is still no. Star's voice was ice. Jin-Woo made his choice. He doesn't get to unmake it just because his life fell apart. Before we continue with this intense story, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our dramatic romance stories. And drop a comment below telling us what you think you would do if you were in Star's shoes. Now let's dive back in. Min-Jae nodded, but his eyes held concern. Star, he's getting desperate. Desperate men are dangerous. Let him be desperate. Star moved toward the elevator, her heels clicking against marble. I spent a year desperate, Min-Jae. A year working 3 jobs, sleeping 3 hours a night, wondering how I'd feed my son. Jin-Woo doesn't know what desperation really means. The elevator descended in silence. Min-Jae stood beside her, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. Close enough that her heart did that stupid flutter it had been doing lately whenever he was near. 4 years ago, Min-Jae had been Jin-Woo's right-hand man, his most trusted associate. Then Jin-Woo had abandoned her, and Min-Jae had shown up at her door the next morning with an envelope of cash and a simple statement. I quit. Let me help you. She hadn't understood why then. She understood now. Star. Min-Jae's voice pulled her from her thoughts. Are you okay? I'm fine. The elevator doors opened to the parking garage. I'm always fine. It was a lie, and they both knew it. But some lies were necessary for survival. The drive to Minho's school took 20 minutes through Seoul's afternoon traffic. Star used the time to review acquisition reports, but her mind kept drifting to the past. To the night Jin-Woo had come home and announced he was leaving. You're an embarrassment, Star. My family was right. I never should have married a black woman. Yuna understands my world. She's Korean. She fits. The memory still had the power to make her chest ache, even after all this time. Not because she missed Jin-Woo. She didn't. Not anymore. But because of how small he'd made her feel. How worthless. We're here. Min-Jae's voice was gentle, as if he knew where her thoughts had gone. He always seemed to know. Star shook off the memories and stepped out of the car. The school's auditorium was already filling with parents. She spotted Minho backstage, his little face lighting up when he saw her. Yama, you came. He ran to her, his sheet music clutched in one hand. Of course I came, baby. Star knelt down, straightening his collar. I wouldn't miss this for anything in the world. Are you nervous? A little. Minho glanced at Min-Jae, who'd followed them backstage. Is Appa Min-Jae staying too? The word Appa made Star's throat tight. Minho had started calling Min-Jae that 6 months ago, hesitantly at first, then with increasing confidence when Min-Jae hadn't corrected him. I'm staying, buddy. Min-Jae ruffled Minho's hair. Wouldn't miss hearing you play Chopin. It's Mozart, Minho corrected with a grin, then scampered off to join his music teacher. Star stood, acutely aware of Min-Jae's presence beside her. You don't have to stay. I know you have a meeting at 6. I rescheduled. Min-Jae's eyes held hers. Minho is more important than any meeting. There it was again, that flutter in her chest, that warmth spreading through her. Star looked away first, unable to handle the intensity of his gaze. They found seats in the third row. The recital began, and Star watched her son play with tears in her eyes. He was so talented, so bright, so perfect. Everything good in her life had come from him, from the determination to give him a better future than the one Jin-Woo had tried to consign them to. Minho played flawlessly, his small fingers dancing across the keys with confidence beyond his 9 years. When he finished, the applause was thunderous. Star jumped to her feet, clapping and beaming with pride. Afterward, they took Minho for ice cream at his favorite shop in Gangnam. He chattered excitedly about his performance, about his piano teacher's praise, about the new piece he was learning. Mrs. Park says I could compete in the youth competition next month, Minho said around a mouthful of chocolate ice cream. Can I, Mum? Please. Of course you can. Star wiped chocolate from his chin with a napkin. We'll make sure you're ready. Will you both come watch if I make it to the finals? Minho looked between Star and Min-Jae with hopeful eyes. Absolutely, they said in unison, then laughed. Minho grinned. You guys are weird. You sound like real married people. Star nearly choked on her coffee. Min-Jae coughed, his ears turning red. But Minho just continued eating his ice cream, oblivious to the bomb he'd just dropped. The moment passed, but the words lingered. Star found herself thinking about them on the drive home, wondering what it would be like if they were true. If Min-Jae wasn't just her business partner and friend. If he could be. No, she couldn't go there. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The wounds from Jin-Woo were still too fresh, the trust too fragile. But that night, after Minho was asleep and she was alone in her penthouse office reviewing contracts, Star let herself imagine it. A life where she wasn't alone, where Min-Jae's quiet strength and unwavering support meant what her heart whispered it might mean. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Please. J.W. Jin-Woo. Star's hands trembled as she stared at the message. For years of silence, and now he wanted to talk? She deleted the message without responding and poured herself a glass of wine. Whatever Jin-Woo wanted, he could keep wanting. She'd built a life without him, a good life, a powerful life. She didn't need his disruption. But deep down, she knew this was just the beginning. Jin-Woo wouldn't give up easily. He never had. And just as expected, the messages kept coming. Every day for a week, Jin-Woo texted. Star deleted each one without reading past the first few words, but their presence gnawed at her. On Friday, flowers arrived at her office. 24 white roses with a card that read, I'm sorry. Let me explain. Jin-Woo. Min-Jae found her staring at them, her expression unreadable. Want me to throw them out? He asked quietly. Yes. Star's voice was firm. And tell security that Jin-Woo isn't allowed in this building under any circumstances. Min-Jae gathered the roses, but he paused at the door. Star, what if he tries to contact Minho? The thought sent ice through her veins. He wouldn't dare. Wouldn't he? Min-Jae set the flowers down. He's already violating your boundaries. What's to stop him from showing up at Minho's school? Star's hands clenched into fists. If he goes near my son, I'll destroy what's left of his pathetic life. I know you will. Min-Jae crossed back to her desk. But maybe we should be proactive. I can have someone watch Minho's school, just to be safe. Star nodded, hating that it had come to this. Hating that Jin-Woo could still make her feel afraid. That weekend, Star took Minho to the park. They were feeding ducks by the pond when a familiar voice called out behind them. Minho? Is that you? Star's blood turned to ice. She spun around to find Jin-Woo standing 10 feet away, looking smaller and more haggard than she remembered. His expensive suit hung loosely on his frame, and his eyes were bloodshot. Minho looked up, confused. Who are you? The question clearly gutted Jin-Woo. His face crumpled. Minho, I'm your father. No, you're not. Minho moved closer to Star, his little hand finding hers. My father left when I was little. You look like him, but my real apple wouldn't leave me. Star's heart broke and swelled simultaneously. She squeezed Minho's hand. Go wait by the bench, baby. I need to talk to this man. Minho hesitated, then obeyed. Once he was out of earshot, Star turned to Jin-Woo with fury blazing in her eyes. How dare you approach him? How dare you show your face after 4 years? I just wanted to see him. Jin-Woo's voice cracked. Star, please. I know I don't deserve it, but I need to talk to you. Both of you. I've changed. You've changed. Star laughed bitterly. You abandoned us, Jin-Woo. You emptied our bank accounts, disconnected my phone, left us with nothing. You told me I was an embarrassment. You told our son he was a mistake. And now you want to talk. I was wrong. Jin-Woo stepped closer, and Star instinctively stepped back. About everything. Leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life. Yuna, she left me 6 months after we got together. She never loved me. She just wanted my money and my status. And when both started disappearing, so did she. And that's supposed to make me feel sorry for you? No. Jin-Woo ran his hand through his neck. No, I don't expect sympathy. I just want a chance to make things right. I want to be a father to Minho. I want us to try again. Star stared at him, wondering if he'd lost his mind. You want us to try again? Jin-Woo, I don't even know who you are anymore. Actually, I do know. You're the man who destroyed me and then walked away without looking back. I looked back. Tears were streaming down Jin-Woo's face now. Every day, Star. Every single day, I regretted leaving you. You were always the strong one, the smart one. Every successful deal I ever made was because of your strategies. Without you, I fell apart. My business collapsed. My family disowned me for embarrassing them with the divorce and the scandal with Yuna. I have nothing left. Good. Star's voice was cold. Now you know how it feels. Star, please. No. Star turned away. You don't get to do this. You don't get to waltz back into our lives because yours fell apart. Minho and I built a life without you. A good life. And I will not let you destroy it again. Just give me one chance to explain. I said no. Star's voice rose, drawing attention from other parkgoers. She lowered it, but her tone remained steel. Stay away from us, Kim Jin-Woo. Stay away from my son. If you contact us again, I'll file a restraining order. She walked back to Minho, took his hand, and left Jin-Woo standing alone by the pond. Her entire body was shaking, adrenaline and old pain coursing through her. Yama, are you okay? Minho asked quietly as they walked to the car. I'm fine, baby. Star forced a smile. That man, he won't bother us anymore. But she was wrong. That night, Jin-Woo called 17 times. Star blocked his number. He created a new one and called again. She blocked that too. Then he started emailing, long, rambling messages about regret and second chances and how much he'd changed. Min-Jae came over after Minho was in bed, finding Star curled up on her couch with a glass of wine, her phone face down on the coffee table. He won't stop, she said without preamble. He's obsessed with the idea that we can just pick up where we left off, like the last 4 years didn't happen. Min-Jae sat beside her, close but not touching. Do you want me to talk to him? Make it clear that he needs to back off. No. Star shook her head. That might make it worse. You know how Jin-Woo gets when he feels challenged by another man. He'll see it as a competition. Then what do you want to do? Star was quiet for a long moment. I want to forget he exists. I want to go back to 3 weeks ago when I was happy and successful and he was just a bad memory. But I can't, because he's everywhere now. In my phone, in my email, in my head. Min-Jae finally reached over and took her hand. His touch was warm, grounding. You're stronger than him, Star. You've always been stronger than him. He's just noise. He's Minho's father. Star's voice broke. What if he has legal rights? What if he tries for custody? He abandoned Minho for 4 years. He never paid child support. He has no case. But what if? Star. Min-Jae turned to face her fully, his hand still holding hers. I won't let him hurt you or Minho. I promise you that. Whatever he tries, we'll fight it together. We. The word wrapped around Star like a blanket. She wasn't alone in this. She had Min-Jae, solid and dependable, and always there when she needed him. Why do you do this? Star asked quietly. Why do you stay? You could have any life you wanted, Min-Jae. You're brilliant, capable, loyal. But instead you're here, dealing with my ex-husband drama and helping me raise a kid that isn't yours. Min-Jae's eyes softened. You really don't know? Know what? He opened his mouth to answer, then seemed to think better of it. It's late. We should both get some sleep. Big investor meeting tomorrow. Star wanted to push, wanted to make him finish that thought, but exhaustion was pulling at her. Yeah, you're right. Min-Jae stood to leave, but Star caught his hand. Thank you, she said simply. For everything. For being here. I don't say it enough, but I don't know what I'd do without you. His smile was sad, almost wistful. You'd be fine. But I'm glad I can be here anyway. After he left, Star sat in the dark living room, her mind racing. There had been an actual shift between them tonight, a crack in the careful professional distance they'd maintained. And Star wasn't sure if she wanted to seal that crack or let it widen. The investor meeting the next day was brutal. 3 hours of presentations, negotiations, and posturing. Star held her own brilliantly, securing a $20 million investment in her tech company expansion. But she could barely focus, her mind constantly drifting to Jin-Woo's messages, his appearance at the park, the desperation in his eyes. You were distracted today, Min-Jae observed as they left the conference room. That's not like you. I'm fine. She insisted. You keep saying that. Min-Jae stopped walking, forcing her to stop too. But you're not fine, Star. You haven't been fine since Jin-Woo came back. And that's okay. You're allowed to not be fine. Star felt tears prickling behind her eyes. She blinked them back furiously. I don't have time to not be fine. I have a company to run, a son to raise, investors to impress. I can't fall apart every time my ex-husband decides to disrupt my life. You're not falling apart. You're human. Min-Jae's voice was gentle. You're allowed to feel things, Star. Anger, fear, pain, whatever this is bringing up for you. What I feel is rage. The words burst out of her before she could stop them. I'm so angry, Min-Jae. At Jin-Woo for leaving, for coming back, for thinking he can just undo what he did. At myself for still letting him affect me. At the universe for not letting me just move on and be happy. You are happy, Min-Jae said quietly. Or you were, before he showed up. And you'll be happy again once we deal with this. How? How do we deal with a man who won't take no for an answer? Min-Jae was quiet for a moment, his expression thoughtful. We could give him what he thinks he wants. Star frowned. What? Hear me out. Min-Jae pulled out his phone and started typing. Jin-Woo wants a meeting, right? A chance to explain himself, to make his case for why you should let him back into your life. Yes, but I'm not going to. You're not going to give him false hope, Min-Jae agreed. But you are going to meet with him, let him say whatever he needs to say, and then you're going to make it crystal clear that there's no future for him with you or Minho. You're going to give him closure, whether he wants it or not. Star considered this. Part of her hated the idea of sitting across from Jin-Woo, listening to his excuses and apologies. But another part recognized the wisdom in Min-Jae's suggestion. As long as Jin-Woo thought there was a chance, he'd keep pushing. She needed to shut that door completely. Okay, she said finally. But not alone. I want you there. Min-Jae's eyes flashed with relief, maybe, or satisfaction. Of course. I'll set it up for tomorrow. Neutral location, public place. You'll be safe. The meeting was arranged for the next afternoon at an upscale hotel restaurant. Star dressed carefully in a navy power suit, armor against whatever Jin-Woo might throw at her. Min-Jae drove her there, his presence a steady comfort. Jin-Woo was already waiting when they arrived, seated at a corner table. His face fell when he saw Min-Jae. I thought we'd be talking alone, Jin-Woo said as they sat down. You thought wrong. Star folded her hands on the table. Min-Jae is my business partner and my friend. He stays. Jin-Woo's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Fine. Star, thank you for agreeing to meet with me. I know I don't deserve. Let's skip the preamble, Star interrupted. You have 30 minutes to say whatever you need to say. Then I'm leaving, and you're going to respect my decision to never contact us again. Star, I can't promise that. Not when it comes to Minho. He's my son. Biologically, yes. In every other way that matters, no. Star leaned forward. Minho doesn't remember you, Jin-Woo. When you approached him at the park, he didn't recognize you. He asked who you were. Do you understand how devastating that should be? Your own son doesn't know you. Jin-Woo flinched like she'd slapped him. That's why I need a second chance. To build a relationship with him. To be the father I should have been. You had your chance. You threw it away the day you walked out. I made a mistake. Jin-Woo's voice rose, drawing looks from nearby tables. He lowered it, but the desperation remained. The biggest mistake of my life. But people are allowed to make mistakes, Star. People are allowed to change and grow and try to make amends. Not when those mistakes destroy lives. Star's voice was ice. You didn't just leave me, Jin-Woo. You systematically dismantled everything I had. You emptied our joint accounts, canceled my credit cards, and turned off my phone. You sold the house without telling me. Do you know how devastated I was when the new owners said the house we both bought has been sold and they were giving us 2 weeks to move out? You left me homeless with a barely 5-year-old child. Do you know where we slept the first week after you left? In my car, because I couldn't afford a motel. Jin-Woo's face went pale. I didn't know. You didn't care to know. Star's composure was cracking, years of buried pain rising to the surface. I had to beg for shifts at 3 different restaurants just to feed our son. I worked 18-hour days while Minho stayed with a neighbor I barely knew because I couldn't afford childcare. He cried himself to sleep every night asking why his father didn't love him and see him anymore. Every single night. Tears were streaming down Star's face now, but her voice remained steady. Min-Jae's hand found hers under the table, squeezing gently. I'm sorry, Jin-Woo whispered. Star, I'm so sorry. If I could take it back. But you can't. Star wiped her tears away impatiently. You can't undo 4 years of trauma and abandonment with an apology. You can't erase Minho's nightmares or my panic attacks or the way I still flinch every time someone says they love me because I'm waiting for them to leave. Then let me make it up to you. Jin-Woo reached across the table, but Star pulled her hands back. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you and Minho. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll go to therapy. I don't want your penance, Star cut him off. I don't want your guilt-driven grand gestures. I want you to leave us alone so we can keep building the life we created without you. What life? Jin-Woo's desperation was giving way to anger. The life where you let my former employee play father to my son? Where you parade around with Min-Jae like you're some kind of family? Min-Jae tensed beside her, but Star held up a hand. Min-Jae has been more of a father to Minho in 4 years than you were in 5. He shows up, Jin-Woo. He's there for every piano recital, every parent-teacher conference, every nightmare and scraped knee. He doesn't get to call himself Minho's father. Minho chose to call him that on his own. Because you poisoned him against me. I never had to. Star's voice was quiet but fierce. Minho came to his own conclusions based on who was there and who wasn't. Children are smarter than you think. They know who loves them. Jin-Woo slumped backwards in his chair, the fight draining out of him. So that's it. You're just going to cut me out completely? You're not even going to let me try to build a relationship with my son. Star was quiet for a long moment, weighing her words carefully. If you're serious about wanting to be in Minho's life, and I mean serious, not just guilty and desperate, then you need to do the work. Real work. Therapy to address why you abandoned him in the first place. A stable life that doesn't involve criminal enterprises. Consistency over time, not grand gestures. I'll do it, Jin-Woo said immediately. Anything. I'm not finished. Star's eyes hardened. If you do all that, if you prove over the next 6 months that you're committed to change, then I'll consider supervised visits. Brief ones. And only if Minho wants them. But you and me? We're done, Jin-Woo. That door is closed and locked and the key is destroyed. I will never give you another chance romantically. Ever. The finality in her voice seemed to hit Jin-Woo like a physical blow. You're in love with him, aren't you? With Min-Jae. He blurted out all of a sudden. Star didn't answer. She didn't even have to. The truth was written across her face. Jin-Woo's laugh was bitter, broken. Of course you are. The loyal right-hand man sweeps in to save the abandoned wife. It's like a drama. Don't. Min-Jae's voice was low and dangerous. Don't diminish what Star has accomplished by reducing it to some rescue fantasy. She saved herself. I was just smart enough to help when she let me. How noble of you. Jin-Woo's sneer was ugly. Tell me, Min-Jae, how long did you wait after I left before you made your move? A week? A month? For years, Min-Jae said calmly. I've never made a move, as you so crudely put it. I've been Star's friend and business partner. Nothing more. But you want more. It wasn't a question. What I want is irrelevant. Min-Jae's eyes were steady. What matters is what Star wants, and what Minho needs. And neither of them need your chaos and your selfishness. Star stood abruptly. We're done here. Jin-Woo, I meant what I said. 6 months of real change, then we'll talk about supervised visits. But if you contact us before then, if you show up at Minho's school or my office or anywhere else, I'll file for a restraining order and you'll lose any chance of ever knowing your son. She walked out without looking back, Min-Jae close behind her. Only when they were in the car, away from Jin-Woo's desperate eyes, did Star allow herself to fall apart. Pull over, she gasped. Min-Jae, pull over. He did, guiding the car to the side of a quiet street. Star fumbled with her seatbelt, her hands shaking too hard to unclasp it. Min-Jae reached over and released it for her, then pulled her into his arms. Star sobbed into his shoulder, for years of repressed pain and rage and grief pouring out of her. Min-Jae just held her, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring soft reassurances. "I'm so tired," Star cried. "I'm so tired of being strong. I'm so tired of fighting." "I know," Min-Jae said gently. "I know you are. Why couldn't he just stay gone? Why did he have to come back and ruin everything?" "He didn't ruin anything." Min-Jae pulled back enough to look at her, his hands cupping her face. "You're still you. Your empire is still standing. Minho is still happy and healthy. Jin-Woo is just noise, Star. Painful noise, but noise nonetheless." Star's breath hitched. "He asked if I was in love with you." Min-Jae went very still. "I didn't say anything." Star's eyes searched his. But he knew anyway. He could see it on my face. The air between them was charged, electric. Min-Jae's thumb brushed away her tears, his touch achingly gentle. "Star," he breathed. "Tell me to stop." "Stop what?" Instead of answering, Min-Jae leaned in slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away. Star didn't. Their lips met softly at first, tentative, testing. Then Star's hands fisted in Min-Jae's shirt, and the kiss deepened, years of denied feelings crashing over them both. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Star laughed. A real laugh, the first in weeks. "We probably shouldn't have done that," she said, but she was smiling. "Probably not," Min-Jae agreed. His own smile was radiant. "Want to do it again?" Star did. They sat in that parked car for an hour, talking and kissing and planning. Planning how to tell Minho, how to navigate their business relationship, how to deal with Jin-Woo's inevitable reaction. "He's going to lose his mind when he finds out," Star predicted. "Let him." Min-Jae kissed her forehead. "We're not doing anything wrong, Star. We're two people who care about each other, who've built a life together. Jin-Woo doesn't get a say in that." When they finally drove home, Star felt lighter than she had in years. The fear and pain were still there, but they were manageable now. She wasn't facing them alone. Minho was already asleep when they arrived, the babysitter reading on the couch. After she left, Star and Min-Jae stood in the doorway of Minho's room, watching him sleep. "We should tell him soon," Star whispered, "before he hears it from someone else." "Tomorrow," Min-Jae suggested. "Let's take him to breakfast, just the three of us, and we'll explain." Star nodded, but anxiety knotted her stomach. What if he's upset? What if he thinks I'm trying to replace his father? He won't think that. Min-Jae's confidence was reassuring. Minho knows who his father is and isn't. He's a smart kid, Star. He'll understand. But the next morning, before they could have that conversation, everything changed. Star's phone rang at 6 a.m. She answered groggily, still half asleep. "Mrs. Kim? This is Principal Lee from Minho's school. I'm calling to inform you that Mr. Jin-Woo Kim attempted to pick up Minho from our after-school program yesterday evening." Star shot upright in bed, her heart pounding. "What? When?" "Around 5 p.m. The staff followed protocol and refused to release Minho to him since he's not listed as an authorized guardian. Mr. Kim became quite agitated and had to be escorted off campus by security. I wanted to make you aware in case." Star barely heard the rest. Rage flooded through her, hot and overwhelming. She ended the call and immediately dialed Jin-Woo's number. He answered on the first ring. "Star, you went to his school." Star's voice was shaking with fury. "After everything we talked about yesterday, you went to his school and tried to take him?" "I just wanted to see him. To talk to him." "You have no right." Star was shouting now. "I gave you a path forward, Jin-Woo. 6 months of change, then supervised visits. But you couldn't even wait 24 hours before violating that. He's my son." "He's not." The words ripped out of Star's throat. "He's not your son, Jin-Woo. You gave up that right when you walked away. A father doesn't abandon his child. A father doesn't try to kidnap him from school when he doesn't get his way. I wasn't trying to kidnap him. I just wanted to talk." "You're done talking." Star's voice went cold. "Consider this your official notice. I'm filing for a restraining order first thing Monday morning. You are not to come within 500 feet of me, Minho, or any of our properties. If you violate that, I'll have you arrested." "Star, please." She hung up and immediately called her lawyer, leaving a detailed message about what had happened and what she needed. Then she called the school and authorized additional security measures for Minho. Min-Jae appeared in her doorway, his hair mussed from sleep. I heard yelling. What happened? Star told him, her hands still trembling with adrenaline and rage. Min-Jae's expression darkened with each word. He's escalating, Min-Jae said grimly. Star, this is serious. He's not thinking rationally anymore. I know. Star sank onto her bed. What if he tries again? What if next time the school isn't paying attention and he actually gets to Minho? That won't happen. Min-Jae sat beside her. I'm going to hire private security. Someone to shadow Minho at school, to make sure Jin-Woo can't get close. That's going to terrify him. Having a bodyguard following him around. Being kidnapped by his biological father would terrify him more. Min-Jae took her hand. We'll explain it carefully. We'll make it seem like an adventure, like having his own special helper. Kids are resilient, Star. And it's only temporary, until the restraining order is in place and Jin-Woo backs off. Star nodded, but dread settled heavy in her chest. This was spiraling out of control faster than she'd anticipated. They told Minho over breakfast, carefully editing the details to make it age-appropriate. Remember how we talked about stranger danger? Star began, cutting up Minho's pancakes. Well, we're going to have a friend named Mr. Park who's going to stay close to you at school for a little while, just to make sure you're extra safe. Minho's eyes went wide. Like a bodyguard? Like in the movies? Min-Jae smiled. Exactly like that. Pretty cool, right? So cool. Minho bounced in his seat. Wait, why do I need a bodyguard? Is someone trying to hurt me? Star's heart clenched. No, baby. Nobody's going to hurt you. This is just a precaution because that man from the park might try to talk to you again, and we want to make sure you have help if he does. Minho's excitement faded. The man who said he was my father? Yes. I don't want to talk to him. Minho's voice was small. He made you cry, Mom. I saw you crying after we left the park. Star pulled her son into her arms. Oh, sweetheart. You don't have to talk to him if you don't want to. That's exactly why Mr. Park will be there, to make sure nobody makes you do anything you don't want to do. Okay. Minho hugged her back tightly. Yama, is that man going to take me away from you? The question broke Star's heart. Never. I promise you, Minho. Nobody is taking you away from me. Not now, not ever. After breakfast, while Minho was getting ready for school, Min-Jae pulled Star aside. We need to talk about something else, he said quietly. About us. Should we still tell him today, or wait until this situation with Jin-Woo settles down? Star considered. We tell him. He needs stability right now. Needs to know that his life isn't falling apart. And us being together, that's a good thing. That's stability. Min-Jae nodded, relief evident on his face. Okay, after school then. We'll take him to the park, somewhere he feels safe, and we'll talk. But the conversation didn't wait that long. As they were walking Minho to the car, he suddenly asked, Are you and Uncle Min-Jae married now? Star nearly tripped over her own feet. What? Why would you ask that? Because you kissed yesterday. Minho said it matter-of-factly, like he was commenting on the weather. I came downstairs to get water, and I saw you kissing in the hallway. So I thought maybe you got married. Star and Min-Jae exchanged panicked looks. How much had he seen? How did he feel about it? We're not married, Star said carefully, kneeling down to Minho's level. But we do care about each other very much. How do you feel about that? Minho scrunched up his face, thinking, Do you love each other? Yes, Min-Jae answered honestly. I love your mom very much. And I love Min-Jae, Star added, her heart racing. Minho looked between them, his expression serious beyond his 9 years. Does this mean Uncle Min-Jae is going to be my real appa now? That's up to you, buddy, Min-Jae said softly. I know I'm not your biological father, but if you want me to be your appa, I would be honored. And if you just want me to stay as Uncle Min-Jae, that's okay too. Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, My friend Juno has 2 dads. One is his bio dad, and one is his stepdad. He says he's lucky because he gets double the presents on birthdays. Despite the tension, Star laughed. Is that your main concern? The presents? No. Minho's expression turned earnest. I just mean, it's okay to have more than one dad, right? Even if one of them isn't around. It's more than okay, Star assured him. Then I want Appa Min-Jae to be my real Appa. Minho looked at Min-Jae with complete trust. Because you're always here. You're the one who helps with homework and comes to my recitals and teaches me Taekwondo. That's what real Appas do. Min-Jae's eyes were suspiciously bright. He cleared his throat roughly. Come here, son. Minho launched himself into Min-Jae's arms, and Star watched them embrace, her own tears flowing freely. This was her family. This was what mattered. Not Jin-Woo's desperation or his attempts to reclaim what he'd thrown away. This right here. This love, this trust, this bond they'd built together. The restraining order was filed on Monday. Star's lawyer assured her it would be approved quickly given Jin-Woo's behavior at the school. But that didn't stop him from trying. Tuesday morning, Star arrived at her office to find Jin-Woo waiting in the lobby. Security moved to intercept him, but he called out before they could. "Star, please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Star considered ignoring him, but something in his voice made her pause. He looked terrible, unshaven, clothes rumpled, eyes wild. "You have 2 minutes," she said coldly, staying a safe distance away. "And security stays right here." Jin-Woo nodded frantically. "I'm sorry about the school. I know I shouldn't have gone there. I panicked. I saw pictures of you and Min-Jae with Minho online, looking like a happy family, and I lost it. That should be me, Star. I should be the one at his piano recitals and helping with homework. But you're not," Star said simply. "You chose not to be. I want to choose differently now. It's too late." Star's voice was firm, but not unkind. "Jin-Woo, I meant what I said at the restaurant. If you want any relationship with Minho, you need to do the work. Get therapy. Build a stable life. Prove over time that you've changed. But these desperate gestures? Showing up at his school at my office? This isn't love. This is guilt and ego and fear of being alone." "I am alone," Jin-Woo's voice broke. "My family won't speak to me. Yuna's married to someone else now. My business is gone. You and Minho are all I have left. We're not yours to have." Star's heart ached despite her anger. "We never were, Jin-Woo. I was never your possession. I was your partner, your equal, but you couldn't see that. You saw me as an embarrassment, as someone who didn't fit your world. The black woman whom your family warned you against marrying, remember? I was wrong. You were racist," Star corrected bluntly. "You and your family looked at me and saw my skin color before you saw me. You married me despite that, but you never actually dealt with it. And the moment things got hard, the moment your family pressured you, you folded. You chose their approval over your new family." Jin-Woo flinched. "I know. You're right. I was a coward and a fool. But Star, I'm begging you. Don't shut me out completely. I'll do whatever you want. Therapy, supervised visits, whatever. Just don't take away any chance of knowing my son." Star studied him for a long moment. Underneath the desperation and the manipulation, she could see genuine pain. He had lost everything, and while part of her felt he deserved it, another part, the part that had once loved him, felt something like pity. "Here's what's going to happen," she said finally. "You're going to leave right now, and you're not going to contact me, Min-Jae, or Minho until the restraining order hearing next week. At that hearing, I'm going to request modifications that allow for the possibility of future supervised visits, contingent on you completing a parenting course and 6 months of therapy. But, Jin-Woo, if you violate this, if you show up anywhere we are, if you call or text or send flowers, I will push for a permanent restraining order and I will pursue termination of your parental rights. Do you understand?" Hope flickered in Jin-Woo's eyes. Yes, I understand. Thank you, Star. Thank you for giving me a chance. I'm not doing it for you," Star said quietly. "I'm doing it for Minho. Because one day he's going to ask questions about his father, and I want to be able to tell him that I did everything I could to give you an opportunity to be in his life. What you do with that opportunity is up to you." Jin-Woo nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I won't let you down. I swear." Star watched him leave, then turned to find Min-Jae standing in the hallway, having witnessed the whole exchange. "That was generous of you," he said carefully. "After everything he's done." "It was strategic," Star corrected, though they both knew it was more than that. "If I completely cut him off, he'll escalate. This way, he has something to work toward, something to focus his energy on besides harassing us. And if he actually follows through, if he does the therapy and the classes and proves he's changed." Star met Min-Jae's eyes steadily. "Then Minho will have access to his biological father in a controlled, healthy way. But it won't change anything between us, Min-Jae. Jin-Woo's not getting me back. That ship has sailed, sunk, and been salvaged for scrap metal." Min-Jae's smile was relieved. "Good. Because I'm not giving you up without a fight." "Who says you'd have to fight?" Star moved closer, lowering her voice. "I'm exactly where I want to be." They kissed right there in the hallway, not caring who saw. Star felt free in a way she hadn't in years. Free from Jin-Woo's shadow, free from fear, free to love and be loved without reservation. The restraining order hearing went exactly as planned. Jin-Woo showed proof that he'd enrolled in therapy and a parenting course. The judge approved Star's modified request, granting a temporary restraining order but leaving open the possibility of supervised visitation in 6 months if Jin-Woo completed his requirements. Mr. Kim, the judge said sternly, I want to be very clear. This is your last chance. If you violate this order in any way, you will face criminal charges and permanent loss of parental rights. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor, Jin-Woo said quietly. Thank you. Outside the courthouse, Star felt like she could finally breathe. It wasn't over. It wouldn't be truly over until Jin-Woo either followed through or failed, but at least there was a structure now, boundaries that even he couldn't ignore without serious consequences. How do you feel? Min-Jae asked as they walked to the car. Lighter, Star admitted. Like I've been carrying this weight for 4 years, and someone finally helped me set it down. You carried it yourself for most of that time, Min-Jae pointed out. I just provided occasional support. You provided everything. Star stopped walking and turned to face him. Min-Jae, I need you to know, these last 4 years, building my company, raising Minho, becoming who I am now, I couldn't have done any of it without you. Not because I'm weak or incapable, but because everyone needs someone in their corner. You've been in my corner since the beginning, expecting nothing in return. That's not entirely true, Min-Jae said softly. I always hoped. One day, when you were ready. I'm ready now. Star took his hand. I'm ready for this to be real, for us to be a family officially. I'm ready to stop being afraid of being happy. Min-Jae pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. I've been ready since the day I met you. I just had to wait for you to see yourself the way I've always seen you, as the strongest, most brilliant, and most beautiful woman in the world. They were interrupted by Star's phone ringing. She glanced at the screen and smiled. It's Minho's school, probably calling about the science fair project. But when she answered, the principal's voice was panicked. Mrs. Kim, you need to get here immediately. It's Minho. He's fine. He's safe. But there's been an incident. Star's blood turned cold. What kind of incident? Mr. Jin-Woo Kim showed up at the school again. He didn't try to take Minho this time. He stood outside the fence during recess, calling for Minho to come talk to him. Mr. Park, the security guard you hired, intervened immediately and the police were called. Mr. Kim is being arrested as we speak for violating the restraining order. Star's knees nearly buckled. Min-Jae caught her, holding her steady as she processed the principal's words. Is Minho okay? Star asked, her voice shaking. Did he see his father being arrested? He saw some of it, yes. He's in my office now with the school counselor. Mrs. Kim, he's asking for you. I'm on my way. Star hung up and looked at Min-Jae with devastated eyes. He couldn't even wait one single day after the hearing, and he violated the restraining order. Then he's done, Min-Jae said grimly. He just lost any chance of ever being in Minho's life. They drove to the school in tense silence. Star's mind was racing with worst-case scenarios. What had Minho seen? How traumatized was he? Would he blame himself somehow? When they arrived, police cars were still in the school parking lot. Star and Min-Jae rushed inside to find Minho curled up in the principal's office, his little face blotchy from crying. Yama. He launched himself at her, and Star caught him, holding him so tight she was afraid she might hurt him. I'm here, baby. I'm here. You're safe now. The police took him away. Minho sobbed into her shoulder. They put handcuffs on him and everything. Mom, I know he's bad, but I still felt sad seeing that. Is that wrong? Star's heart shattered and mended simultaneously. Her son's capacity for empathy, even towards someone who'd hurt him, was both beautiful and painful. No, sweetheart, she said softly, stroking his hair. That's not wrong at all. It's okay to feel sad, even about people who make bad choices. It means you have a good heart. He kept calling my name. Minho continued, his voice muffled against her neck. He said he just wanted to say sorry. But Mr. Park wouldn't let me go near the fence, and then the principal came and the police came, and it was all so scary. Mr. Park did exactly right, Min-Jae said, kneeling beside them. His job is to keep you safe, and that's what he did. Is my biological dad going to jail? Star and Min-Jae exchanged looks over Minho's head. Probably, Star admitted. He broke a rule that the judge gave him. There are consequences for that. Good, Minho said fiercely, then immediately looked guilty. Is it bad that I said that? No, honey. Star pulled back to look at her son's face. You're allowed to feel however you feel. Angry, sad, scared, all of it is okay. The principal appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Kim, the police would like to speak with you about pressing charges. Star nodded and gently extracted herself from Minho's grip. Min-Jae is going to stay with you while I talk to the police, okay? I'll be right back. The conversation with the police was straightforward. Jin-Woo had violated a restraining order less than 24 hours after it was issued. Combined with his previous attempt to take Minho from school, he was facing serious charges. The prosecutor would likely push for jail time. Do you want to press additional charges? The officer asked. For emotional distress to the child? Star thought about it. Part of her wanted to throw the book at Jin-Woo, to make him pay for every moment of fear and pain he'd caused. But another part was just exhausted. Just the restraining order violation, she said finally. That should be enough. When she returned to the office, she found Min-Jae had coaxed Minho into drinking some juice and eating a snack. Her son looked up at her with red-rimmed eyes. Can we go home now, Yama? Yes, baby. Let's go home. That evening, after Minho had finally cried himself to sleep, Star sat in her living room with a glass of wine, staring at nothing. Min-Jae sat beside her, silent and supportive. I keep wondering if this is my fault, Star said quietly. If I'd just refused to see him that day at the restaurant. If I'd gotten the restraining order immediately instead of trying to give him a chance. This isn't your fault, Min-Jae interrupted firmly. Jin-Woo made his own choices. You gave him every opportunity to do the right thing, and he chose chaos instead. But Minho had to see his father get arrested. That's going to stay with him. Yes, it will. Min-Jae didn't sugarcoat it. But Minho is strong, and he has us. We'll get him through this, just like we've gotten through everything else. Star's phone buzzed. A text from her lawyer. Jin-Woo denied bail. Prosecutor pushing for maximum sentence given pattern of behavior. Preliminary hearing set for next month. Star showed the message to Min-Jae. He's in jail. He's actually in jail because he couldn't stay away from us. He's in jail because he broke the law, Min-Jae corrected. Star, I know you still have some complicated feelings about Jin-Woo, but you can't take responsibility for his actions. He's an adult. He knew the consequences, and he chose to violate the restraining order anyway. Why? Star's voice broke. Why couldn't he just do what the judge asked? 6 months of therapy, a parenting course. It wasn't that much to ask. Why did he have to destroy his last chance? Min-Jae was quiet for a moment. Because men like Jin-Woo don't know how to do things the right way. They're used to taking shortcuts, using money and power and intimidation to get what they want. The idea of actually changing, of doing the hard internal work, it's foreign to them. He threw away everything. Star shook her head in disbelief. His family, his business, his son, his freedom. All because he couldn't let go of control. Some people would rather destroy themselves than admit they were wrong. Min-Jae took her hand. But that's his tragedy, not yours. You gave him chances, Star. More than most people would have. What he did with those chances was up to him. Star leaned her head on Min-Jae's shoulder, suddenly exhausted. Promise me something. Anything. Promise me that we'll always be honest with each other. That if there's ever a problem between us, we'll talk about it instead of running away or making stupid decisions. Min-Jae pressed a kiss to her forehead. I promise. Star, I'm not going anywhere. Not now, not ever. You're stuck with me. Good, Star whispered. Because I don't think I could survive losing someone else I love. The next few weeks were difficult. Minho had nightmares about police and jail, and Star had to field questions from concerned parents at school who'd heard about the incident. The media picked up the story, prominent businesswoman's ex-husband arrested for stalking, and suddenly Star's private life was public fodder. But through it all, Min-Jae was there. He handled the press inquiries, coordinated with the school counselor, sat with Minho during the nightmares. He became the rock that Star's family was built on. One evening, about a month after Jin-Woo's arrest, Star found Minho in his room drawing pictures. She sat beside him on the floor. What are you drawing, baby? Minho showed her a picture of 3 stick figures holding hands. That's you, that's me, and that's Min-Jae. We're at the park. Star smiled, but it faded when she saw another drawing, a stick figure behind bars with a sad face. Who's that? My biological dad, Minho said matter-of-factly. He's in jail because he made bad choices. The school counselor said it's okay to draw my feelings, so I drew him sad because I think he's probably sad in jail. Star's throat tightened. Do you feel sad about it too? Minho considered this carefully. A little bit. But mostly I feel safe now. Because he can't come to my school anymore or try to take me away from you. Sweetheart, he was never going to take you away from me. I would never let that happen. I know. Minho leaned against her. Yama? When Appa Min-Jae becomes my real Appa, will my name change? Star blinked, surprised by the question. Do you want it to? I don't know. I like my name. But I also like the idea of having the same name as Appa Min-Jae. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. Star hugged him close. We'll figure it out together, okay? As a family. That night, after Minho was asleep, Star broached the subject with Min-Jae. He asked about adoption today. About changing his name to yours. Min-Jae looked up from his laptop, eyes wide. What did you say? I said we'd figure it out as a family. Star sat beside him on the couch. Min-Jae, I've been thinking, what if we made it official? All of it. Get married. Have you legally adopt Minho. Make what we already are in every way that matters legally recognized too. Min-Jae set his laptop aside, giving her his full attention. Star, are you proposing to me? Maybe. Star felt her cheeks heat. Is that crazy? We've only been officially together for a few months. We've been together in every way but officially for 4 years, Min-Jae countered. Star, I've been ready to marry you since the day I quit Jin-Woo's organization and showed up at your door. The only question is whether you're ready. I'm ready. Star took his hands in hers. I'm ready to stop being afraid of happiness. I'm ready to build a real future with you. I'm ready for Minho to have a father who chooses him every single day, legally and officially. Min-Jae pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was precious. Then yes. Yes to all of it. Marriage, adoption, the whole future together. They kissed, soft and sweet and full of promise. For the first time since Jin-Woo had walked out 4 years ago, Star felt completely whole. The wedding was small and intimate, held in a garden overlooking Seoul. Minho served as ring bearer, beaming with pride in his smart tuxedo. Star wore a simple white dress, elegant and gorgeous. Min-Jae couldn't stop smiling. Star's mother, who'd flown in from the States, cried through the entire ceremony. Afterward, she pulled Star aside. I'm so proud of you, baby, she said, cupping Star's face. You took the worst thing that ever happened to you and turned it into this beautiful life. You're stronger than I ever was. I learned from the best, Star replied, thinking of all the times her mother had faced racism and hardship with grace and resilience. The reception was joyful and loud, filled with friends from Star's company, Minho's teachers, and the few family members who'd supported her through everything. As Star danced with Min-Jae, she caught sight of Minho dancing with her mother, both of them laughing. What are you thinking? Min-Jae asked, following her gaze. I'm thinking that I won, Star said softly. Not because Jin-Woo lost, but because I built this. This family, this life, this happiness. He tried to destroy me, and instead I became stronger than he ever was. You were always stronger, Min-Jae corrected. You just finally got the chance to show it. The adoption paperwork was finalized 2 months later. The judge who presided over the hearing was the same one who'd handled the restraining order case. Mr. Kong, she said to Min-Jae, you understand that by adopting Minho, you're taking on all legal responsibilities of parenthood? I do, Your Honor, Min-Jae replied. It would be the greatest honor of my life. The judge turned to Minho, who was sitting between Star and Min-Jae. Minho, do you understand what's happening today? Yes, Minho said clearly. Appa Min-Jae is becoming my legal Appa, not just my real Appa. The judge smiled. And is that what you want? More than anything. Minho looked at Min-Jae with complete trust and love. He's already my dad in my heart. This just makes it official. The judge's eyes were suspiciously bright as she signed the papers. Then it's my pleasure to grant this adoption. Congratulations to the Kong family. Outside the courthouse, they took a family photo, Star, Min-Jae, and Minho, all smiling broadly. This photo would go on Star's desk at work, a reminder of what really mattered. That evening, they celebrated with dinner at Minho's favorite restaurant. He insisted on telling the waitress, today I got adopted by my Appa. My real Appa, not my bio dad who's in jail. The waitress looked confused but congratulated him anyway. As they ate, Star's phone buzzed with an email from her lawyer. She almost ignored it, but something made her open it. The email contained a letter from Jin-Woo. He'd written it from jail. Star almost deleted it unread, but curiosity won. She excused herself to the bathroom and read it there, leaning against the sink. The letter was different from his previous attempts at communication. No attempts to guilt-trip her. Just honesty. Star, I know you probably won't read this, but I need to write it anyway. I'm in jail because of my own actions, my own inability to let go. I've had a lot of time to think, and I've realized that I never actually loved you the way you deserved. I loved what you did for me, how you made me look good, how you solved my problems. But I didn't love you for who you were. I didn't see you. And that's the real tragedy, isn't it? I had something precious and I threw it away because I was too blind to recognize its value. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness or for another chance. I know those ships have sailed. I'm writing because I saw the adoption notice in the legal papers. Min-Jae is adopting Minho. And I realize now that he's going to be a better father than I ever was or could be, because he sees you both for who you are. He loves you both for who you are. I hope Minho has a good life. I hope you're happy. And I hope that one day, a very long time from now when I've done the work to actually become a better person, Minho might be willing to hear me say I'm sorry. Not for me, but for him. So he knows that what I did wasn't his fault. But if that day never comes, I'll understand. Take care of our son, Star. And thank you for being strong enough for both of us when I wasn't. Jin-Woo. Star read the letter twice, then deleted it. Some part of her felt lighter, knowing that Jin-Woo had finally understood. But it didn't change anything. It didn't undo the years of pain or erase the scars. She returned to the table where her family was waiting. Min-Jae looked at her questioningly. Jin-Woo wrote from jail? She explained quietly. It was different this time. He wished us well. He acknowledged that you'll be a better father than he was. How do you feel about that? Min-Jae asked carefully. Star considered. Relieved, I think. Like I can finally close that chapter completely and move forward without any lingering what-ifs. She looked at Minho, who was coloring on his kid's menu, completely absorbed in making his dinosaur the perfect shade of green. She looked at Min-Jae, whose eyes held nothing but love and support. I have everything I need right here, Star said softly. Jin-Woo's approval or acknowledgement or whatever that letter was supposed to be, I don't need it. I needed it 4 years ago when he left me broken, humiliated, alone, and desperate. But now I'm whole without it. Min-Jae reached across the table and took her hand. You've always been whole, Star. You just had to believe it yourself. 6 months later, Star stood in front of the massive windows of her corner office, looking out over Seoul's glittering city. Behind her, her executive team was presenting the quarterly earnings report. Another record-breaking quarter. Another successful expansion. Another vindication of everything she'd built from nothing. Her phone buzzed with a text from Min-Jae. Minho's recital starts in an hour. Don't forget. Star smiled and typed back. Leaving now. Save me a seat next to my husband. The word still gave her a thrill. Husband. Family. Home. She wrapped up the meeting quickly and headed out. But her assistant stopped her in the hallway. Mrs. Kong, there's someone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's important. A Mr. Jin-Woo. Star's heart stuttered. Jin-Woo is here? I thought he was still in jail. He was released last week, apparently. Good behavior and proper conduct. He's in the lobby. Star's first instinct was to refuse to see him, to have security escort him out. But curiosity won. What could he possibly want now, after everything? Tell him he has 5 minutes, Star said. And keep security close. Jin-Woo looked different when she saw him in the lobby. Thinner, older, humbler. Prison had changed him in visible ways. Star, he said quietly. Thank you for seeing me. I know I don't deserve even these 5 minutes. You're right, you don't. Star crossed her arms. What do you want, Jin-Woo? I wanted to apologize in person. For everything. For abandoning you. For trying to force my way back into your life. For traumatizing Minho. Jin-Woo's voice was steady, without the desperate edge it had carried before. I've spent the last 6 months in therapy, court-mandated, but I actually engaged with it. And I've realized that I never took accountability for what I did. I blamed my family, blamed Yuna, blamed circumstances. But the truth is, I made those choices. I abandoned my family because I was a coward who cared more about what others thought than about the people I was supposed to love. Star was silent, studying him. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Jin-Woo continued. I'm not asking to see Minho or to be part of your lives in any way. I know Min-Jae adopted him. I know you're married now, that you've built a beautiful family without me. I'm just asking that you hear me say this. You were right. About everything. And I'm sorry that it took losing everything for me to understand that. Okay, Star said simply. I hear you. Is that all? Jin-Woo looked surprised, like he'd expected more of a reaction. Ah yes, that's all. Thank you for listening. He turned to leave, but Star's voice stopped him. Jin-Woo. He turned back, hope flickering in his eyes. I forgive you, Star said quietly. Not because you deserve it, or because what you did was okay, but because holding on to that anger and pain isn't serving me anymore. I forgive you so I can be completely free of you. Jin-Woo's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. That's more than I had any right to expect. It is, Star agreed. And Jin-Woo? Don't come back. Don't contact me, or Minho, or Min-Jae. Live your life, make better choices, be a better person. But do it away from us. We've moved on, and you need to do the same. I will. Jin-Woo nodded. I hope you're happy, Star. I hope Minho grows up knowing he's loved. And I hope Min-Jae knows how lucky he is. After he left, Star stood in the lobby for a long moment, processing. She felt lighter, like the last piece of unfinished business had finally been resolved. Jin-Woo was gone, truly gone this time. She checked her watch. 45 minutes until Minho's recital. She needed to go. The drive to the school gave Star time to reflect on how far she'd come. For years ago, she'd been sleeping in her car, working 3 jobs, wondering if she'd ever feel whole again. Now she owned multiple companies, had a husband who adored her, and a son who was thriving. Jin-Woo had tried to break her. Instead, he'd freed her to become someone extraordinary. Min-Jae was already seated in the auditorium when she arrived, saving her a spot in the front row. He stood when he saw her, kissing her cheek. How was your day, he asked. Interesting, Star replied, settling into her seat. I'll tell you about it later. The recital began, and Star watched Minho walk onto the stage with confidence she'd never seen in him before. He'd grown so much in the past year. Taller, more self-assured, happier. The nightmares had stopped months ago. He rarely mentioned his biological father anymore. Minho played Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, again with such emotion and skill that Star found herself crying. Beside her, Min-Jae squeezed her hand. He's incredible, Min-Jae whispered. He's ours, Star whispered back. After the recital, they took Minho for ice cream again. It had become their tradition. Every recital, every achievement, celebrated with ice cream at the same shop in Gangnam. I think that was your best performance yet, Star told Minho, watching him devour chocolate ice cream. Mrs. Park says I should audition for the youth orchestra, Minho said between bites. Can I, Yama? It's a big commitment, rehearsals twice a week and performances once a month. Of course you can, Min-Jae answered before Star could. We'll make it work. Right, Yobo? Star smiled at the endearment. Absolutely. We'll support whatever you want to do, baby. Minho grinned, chocolate smeared across his face. I have the best parents ever. The simple statement made Star's heart swell. Her son was happy. That was all that mattered. That night, after Minho was asleep, Star told Min-Jae about Jin-Woo's visit. He actually apologized, without any ulterior motives. And then I told him never to contact us again. Min-Jae pulled her close on the couch. How do you feel about that? Good, Star said honestly. Really good. I forgave him, not for him, but for me, so I could let go of the last bit of anger I was carrying. And now it's done. That chapter is completely closed. I'm proud of you, Min-Jae said softly. That took a lot of strength. I learned from the best. Star looked up at him. You taught me that strength isn't about holding grudges or seeking revenge. It's about building a life so good that the past can't touch it. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just holding each other. Then Star said, I've been thinking about something. What's that? Expanding the company internationally. Opening offices in New York, London, and maybe Japan. It would mean more travel, more time away from home. Min-Jae was quiet, and Star felt a flicker of anxiety. Unless you think it's too much, I don't want to sacrifice family time. Star. Min-Jae interrupted her gently. I think it's brilliant. You've conquered Seoul. Why not conquer the world? We'd have to bring Minho sometimes. He'd miss school. He's smart enough to keep up. And think of what an education it would be, seeing different countries, experiencing different cultures. Star relaxed into his embrace. You really think we can do it? manage a global empire while raising a 10-year-old. I think you can do anything you set your mind to, Min-Jae said. And I'll be right there beside you, every step of the way. Star turned in his arms, looking at him seriously. Do you ever regret it? Walking away from Jin-Woo's organization, tying yourself to me when I had nothing? You could have had an easier life. Easier, maybe, Min-Jae agreed. But not better. Never better. Star, you're the best thing that ever happened to me. You and Minho both. This life we've built, it's worth more than any amount of money or power or ease. I love you, Star said simply. I know I don't say it enough, but I do. So much it scares me sometimes. Don't be scared. Min-Jae kissed her forehead. I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me for the rest of your life. Good, Star whispered. Because I plan to be with you for a very long time. 2 years passed in a blur of success and happiness. Star's company expanded globally, just as she'd planned. The New York office opened to massive success, followed by London and Japan. Star became a fixture in international business magazines, Forbes, Fortune, Bloomberg, all featuring her remarkable rise from nothing to everything. Minho, now 12, had joined the youth orchestra and was flourishing. He developed a love for languages and was learning Mandarin and French alongside his English and Korean. His teachers called him gifted, but Star and Min-Jae just called him theirs. One evening, Star was working late in her home office when Minho knocked on the door. Mom, can we talk? Star immediately closed her laptop. Of course, baby. What's on your mind? Minho sat in the chair across from her desk, looking unusually serious. I've been thinking about my biological dad. Star's stomach clenched, but she kept her voice calm. Okay, what about him? I know he's not in jail anymore. I know he apologized to you a couple years ago. Minho looked at his hands. And I've been wondering, do you think he ever thinks about me? Star's heart ached. She'd known this conversation would come eventually, but it still hurt to navigate. I think he probably does, she said honestly. But Minho, thinking about someone and being able to be a good parent to them are two very different things. I know, Minho said quickly. I don't want to see him or anything. I have Min-Jae, and he's the best dad ever. Sometimes I wonder what he's doing now. If he's okay. Star moved around the desk and sat beside her son. That's normal, sweetheart. It's okay to be curious about him. It doesn't mean you're betraying Min-Jae or that you love him any less. Really? Star pulled Minho into a hug. You have room in your heart for complicated feelings about your biological father. That doesn't change the fact that Min-Jae is still your father in every way that matters. Minho relaxed into her embrace. Thanks, Iyama. I just needed to know it was okay to wonder. It's always okay to talk to me about anything, Star assured him. No matter what. After Minho went to bed, Star told Min-Jae about the conversation. He's growing up, Min-Jae said thoughtfully, starting to process his past in more mature ways. I know. I just hate that he has to process this at all. That Jin-Woo's abandonment is something he'll always carry. But he's carrying it well, Min-Jae pointed out. He's not angry or bitter. He's just curious, which is healthy. Star, we've done a good job with him. Look at how well-adjusted he is despite everything, and honestly, I think if he ever wants to see his biological father, he should be allowed to. We shouldn't prevent him from seeing him because of what happened in the past. You know, no matter the circumstances, the fact still remains that he is still his biological father. Star knew he was right, but the mother in her still wanted to protect Minho from every hurt, including the ones that were already there. 3 months later, Star received an email that made her pause. It was from a small nonprofit organization working with at-risk youth in Seoul. They wanted to know if she'd be willing to speak at their annual fundraiser about her journey from abandonment to success. Star almost declined. She didn't like talking about her personal life publicly, but something about the request resonated with her. She agreed, and the event was scheduled for the following month. The night of the fundraiser, Star stood backstage, more nervous than she'd been for any business presentation. This wasn't about quarterly earnings or expansion strategies. This was about opening old wounds and showing them to strangers. Min-Jae appeared beside her, straightening her collar. You don't have to do this if you're not ready. I'm ready, Star said, though her hands were shaking. These kids, they need to know that their current circumstances don't define their future. If my story can help even one of them, it's worth it. She walked onto the stage to applause and stood behind the podium, looking out at the crowd. Young faces, Old faces, hopeful faces, desperate faces. All of them looking to her for inspiration. "My name is Star Kong," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "And 8 years ago, I was sleeping in my car with my 5-year-old son, wondering if we'd survive." The room went silent. Star took a breath and continued. "My husband, my ex-husband, had left us with nothing. He'd emptied our bank accounts, canceled my phone, sold the house without my knowledge, and left us homeless. He told me I was an embarrassment because of my skin color. He told our son that he was a mistake. And for a while, I believed him. I believed that I was worthless, that I'd never amount to anything without him." Star paused, looking at the young people in the front rows. "But I was wrong. And he was wrong. Because here's what I learned. Rock bottom is a foundation. When you have nothing left to lose, you have everything to gain. When people tell you that you can't, you show them you can. When life tries to break you, you become unbreakable." She talked for 20 minutes, sharing her journey, the 3 jobs, the sleepless nights, the slow climb from nothing to everything. She talked about Min-Jae's belief in her when she didn't believe in herself. She talked about building an empire not for revenge, but for her son's future. "Today, I own multiple companies across 3 continents," Star said. "I employ over 1,000 people. I'm featured in business magazines and invited to speak at events like this. But none of that matters as much as this. My son is happy. He's healthy. He knows he's loved. And he understands that where you start doesn't determine where you finish." The applause when she finished was thunderous. People were crying, including several of the young people in the front row. Afterward, dozens of them lined up to talk to her, to thank her, to share their own stories. One young woman, maybe 19, said through tears, "My boyfriend left me when I got pregnant. I thought my life was over. But hearing you, maybe it's just beginning." Star hugged her tightly. "It is. It's absolutely just beginning. Don't let anyone make you believe otherwise." Driving home that night, Star felt lighter than she had in years. She'd taken her pain and turned it into purpose. She'd taken her story and used it to help others. That was the ultimate victory. "You were incredible tonight," Min-Jae said, glancing at her from the driver's seat. "I was honestly scared," Star admitted. "But also free. Does that make sense? Like finally telling the whole story out loud broke its power over me." "Perfect sense." Min-Jae reached over and took her hand. "I'm so proud of you, Star. Not for your success or your empire, for your courage." When they got home, they found Minho still awake, waiting for them. "How did it go?" he asked eagerly. "It went well," Star said, hugging him. "Really well. Why are you still up?" "I wanted to tell you something." Minho looked between his parents. "I've been thinking, and I want to change my name legally. Not just to Kong, but my first name too. I want to be Daniel Minho Kong." Star and Min-Jae exchanged surprised looks. "Daniel? Where did that come from?" "It means God is my judge," Minho explained. "I learned about it in religious studies class. And I like the idea of having a name that means I'm not defined by other people's judgments, only by truth." Star felt tears pricking her eyes. Her son was so wise, so thoughtful, so perfectly himself. "If that's what you want, we'll make it happen," she said softly. "Daniel Minho Kong." Min-Jae tested the name. "I like it. Strong and dignified, just like you." Minho, Daniel, beamed. "Thanks, Appa. Thanks, Yama. For everything. For fighting for me. For building this life. For showing me that family is about who chooses you, not who's related to you by blood." Star pulled her son into a fierce hug, Min-Jae wrapping his arms around both of them. This was her empire. Not the buildings, or the bank accounts, or the international offices. This love, this family, this unbreakable bond they'd forged through hardship and healing. Jin-Woo had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd cleared the path for her to become something greater than she'd ever imagined possible. And that, Star thought as she held her family close, was the sweetest victory of all. If Star's incredible journey moved you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash the like button. Drop a comment below and let me know, what was your favorite part of Star's transformation? Which moment hit you the hardest? And remember, your past doesn't define your future. You're stronger than you know, and your story isn't over yet. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.